Thank you so much for tuning in to Shasta's Journey. Sit back and be inspired. On this episode, I have a very inspirational woman who traveled all the way up from Baja California, Mexico to be with us here on set. Her name is Dorothy Greatrex, and she is the founder of Mujeres Nuevo Comienzo, which means Fresh Start, which is an organization down in Baja that really focuses on bringing new life to women who have been through so many different things. And I'm excited for Dorothy to share her story of everything that she has overcome along her path to purpose and how she is using her story to impact others. Before we go ahead and get started, I just want to recognize that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we are wearing bracelets and pins in just recognition of everything that goes on with domestic violence, and just to recognize that there are people who are experiencing this and go through this. But I also want to shed a light on that subject by just letting everybody know that there is resources and help and ways that you can overcome the circumstances that you are going through. So Dorothy, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you for taking the time and inviting us. Thank you.
Of course. It's been years since I've been trying to get Dorothy on the show. I actually met her down in Baja when I visited the organization myself a few years back. And it was New Beginnings at the time, correct?
That's right. Yes. Since then, last December, we had a very intense pruning, which removed all that we knew as our structure, except the roots. The roots remained, and the name New Beginnings no longer belongs to us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Mujeres Nuevo Comienzo is still the original foundation and the original ministry, and it stays as it was. It belongs to God. No one is taking that from him. Another translation of Mujeres Nuevo Comienzo is Fresh Start. We can't change the past, but we can choose how, with the choices we make in the future, for now and the future.
Amen. I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, if you can just give the viewers a little bit of more of an understanding of what happens at Mujeres Nuevo Comienzo.
Let me start by saying my eyes were open in October of 2003 when I met a 13-year-old who was in a lockdown facility. It's called La Esperanza. It's a prison rehab center. 41 women in a room approximately this size, one broken toilet, absolutely no sanitary facilities. And I could not imagine why a 13-year-old was in a lockdown facility. But I found out. As we speak, 11-year-old girls are still sold. Job descriptions satisfy the man that buys you and the men he brings to you. This little 13-year-old got caught during an attempted suicide. And while I was there, the director walked in and said to her, "Today you go home." And she grabbed me and she said, "Please help me, help me." That day there was nothing I could do. But that's where my journey began. I was determined I could do something at some point. That was October of 2003. Our front door opened April 4th of 2012. It was a slow, hard journey because the devil had been in control till that point. That was his playground, and he was determined to keep it. But our God is greater. He helped us overcome the detours, the obstacles, and through the journey, I had to learn some very, very hard messages myself. What does it feel like to be absolutely beaten, to be so broken that you don't know any way out? What does it feel to be rejected by everyone you know and everyone you've trusted, everyone you've loved? What does it feel like when you are at the very bottom? I had to hit bottom to get an understanding for what the women feel like. Our women, when they're sold at age 11, usually they turn to alcohol or drugs or both, called coping. And by the time they're approximately 25, they're replaced, usually discarded, and usually with children. Many of them have lost custody of their children, but some still have them. What are their job skills? Some of them can't read and write. So when they come to us, they're usually in a very destitute state. What we never anticipated was the wounded children. You see, God doesn't tell you what you're getting into. When you surrender, be ready for a ride because he's going to take you down a path you never anticipated. I bake the most amazing cookies. I am not equipped to run a women's shelter, but he called me. And it's been an incredible journey. The broken children, we don't have the recipe. How do you restore a little boy who from the age of 5 was mother gave him to a customer? The mother he loved and trusted. And she gave him to a customer because she just gave birth to another child. The cupboards are empty, the children are hungry, and a customer with money arrives. Here's my 5-year-old son. How do you restore that little boy? The little 4-year-old girl who's been a victim since she was 4. The little children who have been used in child pornography by grandmother, who was babysitting, helping the daughter. These are children that need to be restored. And that is a chapter that we don't have an answer for this one. Neither do we have an answer for many of the mothers, because I believe everybody has a special gifting. And we need to find out what is that gifting and help that mother develop that gifting. Last year, we were very, very blessed. We saw 7 women graduate from grade 3, 3 women graduate from grade 7. That's beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
That is a start in the right direction. You can't change the past, but now let's make a difference for the future. Develop life-sustainable work habits. And we don't have a set program where you stay for 1 year and then leave, because everybody's needs are different.
I love that. I love the setup of it. And let me tell you, this organization is truly, truly incredible. And if you want to find out more, maybe if you don't hear it throughout this episode, you guys can actually go and visit their website. And we'll go ahead and put it up on the screen for you. And just go check it out. You can find out so much more information about this organization. I highly encourage you to do that. You guys can get involved, visit, donate. There's so many ways that you can be a part of what God's doing through this incredible ministry.
Amen.
And you actually mentioned when you were telling us about the organization that at one point in your life when God presented this idea to you, you honestly felt that you were not the right person to be doing this.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, how did you overcome that? Because a lot of people get stuck in that mindset that they are not good enough. They're not worthy enough to be just be this purpose that God wants us to be.
Well, I keep waiting for the right person to come along. I keep waiting for God to replace me, because I am not equipped. But He does send the equipped. We have been blessed by having so many people come alongside that I would never have met if we hadn't opened these doors. That includes my husband. I would never have met him if I hadn't been obedient to God. I was stuck in a bad place for many, many years. And I believe when you have a childhood trauma, you stay stuck. Part of you doesn't grow. I was there for many years. I was orphaned when I was 5, almost 6. And abandonment has been a huge word in my vocabulary, in my emotional vocabulary. I didn't understand the death of my parents because I was told they were sleeping. I was not told they were dead until we went to the funeral and the 2 boxes were lowered into a hole, and I briefly saw Mom and Dad in those boxes. An unbelievable moment of horror. Then I was put in a car that I didn't recognize the people. I loved cars. It wasn't hard to get me into the car because I always loved cars. But then we started leaving in the wrong direction and not returning. Again, I felt kidnapped. I felt rejected. My brothers and sisters were back there. What happened? After a year and a half in my new foster home, from which I tried to escape 1,000 times, and they were good people. They were truly good people. And I was, again, not with no discussion, I was placed in a new home, abandoned again, rejected. And that story, I stayed stuck in that. I never learned to cope with that emotion, which has been my school. That was the emotion that helped me with these women, because they do get stuck. Mm-hmm. They get terribly stuck in feeling unworthy and feeling of no value. Our foundation is Isaiah 45, 1-7. When our women arrive, we ask them, do you believe in the Bible? Even if they can't read and write, there's a respect for the book. Well, whom do you think the Bible is written for? Me? Can I claim these 7 verses for me? 7 verses. Let's take a look. I'll paraphrase. God says, I will take you by the right hand. I will open the doors. Gates will not be shut. I will cut through the bars of bronze and iron, and I will move the mountain. Do you want this guy for a friend? What does he say next? You are the treasures hidden in darkness, riches stored in secret places, and I will give you a title of honor, because I know you by name, even though you have not acknowledged me. And I am the Lord, and there is no other. Do not add him to a list of other gods. Don't put your hands in your pockets. Give him your hand, and he will guide you. When these women understand that possibly there is a real God who cares, possibly they have value, they can again be women restored, women of virtue. That's a hard one for them to accept. But it's in the Bible. What we struggle with is forgiving ourselves. We have labeled ourselves as being unworthy. We have labeled ourselves as being mistakes. And we carry those labels. And we have to learn to give them up, replace them. Women of value, women of virtue. And once you replace that with a brand new label, understand that you are the daughter of the king, the princess. You have value. I love that. Well, I love what we see. I love that look in their eyes when they have that first moment of actually being allowed to dream. What could I be? What can I be?
Such a beautiful thing. I know personally, I always get caught up in, things that I've done and everything. And even as a believer, I still struggle with that sometimes. But it's so vitally important to grasp onto the identity that we were created to be. If somebody walked up to you, Dorothy, and said, who are you? Beyond being the founder of Mujeres Nuevo Comienzo, what are you?
Child of God.
Amen.
The daughter of the king. We were blessed a few weeks ago. We had a guest come and visit us. She's a professional artist, Oreo Stevens, from Paso Robles. And she painted. For the first time, we have a prayer room. We're not living in the tent right now. We have a room that is now a kitchen and dining room, and upstairs is a prayer room and quarters for the house mom. In the prayer room, beside the doorway, on the left, she has a sunflower in bud state. And on the right, it is taller and full-blown. Now, what we explain to our women, this bud state, it's a healthy plant. The roots go down and they're healthy. It's a beautiful plant. But don't get stuck in the bud state. Don't be content with that. Allow God to stretch you even more. Allow him to take you that full measure into that full-blown flower that you are capable of being. Go for it. Allow yourself to be stretched. I don't care what age you are. I don't care what age anyone is when they understand who God is. It doesn't matter. I was 59 when I surrendered my life to Christ, a very late bloomer. And it doesn't matter. I met a lady 2 days ago. She was 72 when she turned her life to Christ. I know.
Wow.
Don't stop praying for the old people. There's hope.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because honestly, when I met her, the last thing that I would have thought is that she gave her life to God a few years ago. It's just crazy to think that it took you that long to find the Lord, but everybody's path is different. That's why it's more than just a religion. It's more than just a faith, but it's a relationship with God, and everybody is in their own stage of that relationship.
It's not religion at all. Because of my experiences in foster homes, I vowed I would never allow religion in my life. I did not want religion. I was hostile towards, if there was a God, I didn't want him. How dare he take my parents? How dare he make me go through the sexual abuse? How dare he allow this, that, and the other? How dare he? That's God? God of love, excuse me? I was hostile. I was angry. I didn't want religion. But I knew when I went to the orphanage the first 2 times, and I was forced to go to their fellowship times, and I thought they were all going to be sleepers. Well, they weren't. There were some people that spoke who had something. I wanted that something.
It's important to note that the orphanage that she is talking about is Foundation for His Ministries, which is
Correct.
actually the orphanage that I have been heavily involved in, which I'm so grateful that God has blessed me with the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that. So you went there to serve.
I did.
And
I went there as on a pity party.
You weren't a Christian at the time, though, right?
No, I was a widow, and I didn't know how to spend my winters on my own. I was having a pity party. Didn't want to be in wet British Columbia. So somebody told me about the orphanage, gave me the book, Charlotte's Children. I read the book, and I thought if you can just erase the God stuff, the concept could be really good. Because I was orphaned, I connected with the Word. And I went there not knowing I was supposed to pre-register. I arrived at noon on a Saturday, and Frank said, yes, we have room. And then a board member said, oh, you can't stay, you're not a Christian. And I said, you're kidding me, like, what's that got to do with me serving? And he said, well, that's our rules. I told him what I thought of Christianity in very colorful language. The Thursday, Charlotte arrived, and she said, I understand you've been told to leave. And I said, yeah. She said, well, you can stay under one condition. Every morning from 8 to 9, you spend in fellowship with the rest of us. I said, okay. They're sleepers. They weren't. There were people who had a fire, and it was contagious, and I wanted that. I found that in 1999. I found that fire. I found that love. I found out Acts chapter 16. Paul sang praises while he was in prison. Was he justly imprisoned? Was he there for a crime he committed? No. At midnight he's singing praises because he loves Jesus. That is the love I want. That is the fire I want. To be able to sing no matter what. Regardless of the problems, regardless of the obstacles, to sing praises in the midst of it all, and just in spite of it all.
Looking back on things that you've been throughout the 60 years, before giving your life to Christ, what are some things that you've overcome? And looking back on it now, you've seen God's hand through it without actually knowing who He was.
So many times. So many times I see how He protected me. It is so humbling, and you can't help but feel just absolutely overwhelmed when you realize He protected me in situations where I should have died. And there were a couple of accidents where I should not have walked away from, but I did. There was one moment where I had an out of body experience. I'd had a surgery, and I'd had a hysterectomy, and things went sideways, and I hemorrhaged badly. I should not have been alive.
Wow.
And while I was in the hospital, and I had this out-of-body experience, and my husband was sitting on the other side of the curtain, and the nurse said, I've lost her. And the doctor said, well, somebody will have to go tell her husband. And I'm up in the corner watching this body, watching my husband, and my husband was happy about it. Our marriage was shaky, and he was happy about it. And I thought, you've got to be kidding. And you're going to raise my children? Not. And I re-entered the body. And I have so often looked back at that moment and thought, you got to be kidding, God. Why did you rescue me at that time when I hated you? I despised you. But His plan for me was not completed, was it?
Exactly. It's so important to note with that beautiful testimony of God's faithfulness, despite you knowing who He was, despite you recognizing everything that He can do for your life, He still cared about you. He still loved you.
Look at Isaiah 45. Even though you have not acknowledged me, I know you by name. Quit fighting Him. Enjoy the journey, huh?
Exactly. So the whole point of this show is to show that God is moving and working in the lives of others.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful that you're here sharing your story.
Yeah.
And from your experiences, how have you been able to use those experiences to impact the women who God has put into your life? There's a lot to that, I know.
Yes. How do you start? Some of our mothers, when they come, they're not good mothers because children were born out of an ugly experience. How can you expect them to love that thing? It's not a person that they're looking at. They don't recognize the baby as a human being. We had one mother come to us. Baby was a couple of days old, desperate for a drink of milk. He hadn't even been bathed. And the baby was so desperate, and she didn't want anything to do with that. She just looked at it with absolutely repulsed. We had to work with her, we had to hold the baby, allow her, release her milk, and it was so hard for her. We went and bathed the baby, we pampered her, we nurtured her, we fed her, talked with her, and she did not want that baby. Today that baby is 3.5 years old. She is an amazing mother. She had got married not many months ago. She is a beautiful mother. But how do you move from that being so repulsed by this moment of the memory of this ugly event? How do you move from that? How do you recognize God's masterpiece that's laying there? The perfect little fingers, the perfect little baby. How can you not love that baby? And yet, how can you? It's all the same question, isn't it? How can you and how can you not? Mm-hmm. Love is a 4-letter word that is so misused, so abused. I love peanut butter. We use it, we abuse it. And then we say you should love your children. Really? Children, you should love your mother. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. The woman that sold you into trafficking? We don't know what love is until we don't have it.
You are so right.
And we don't know what love is until it's shown. We have to walk it. We have to live it. We love it when couples come to visit us, where a man shows respect for his wife. Respect is the start of love. Mm-hmm. And when a family comes, where a man embraces his children, where he plays with his children. We had a family come for Christmas a few years ago. Daddy is 6 foot something, and so is the oldest son. After the meal, the father and the son got up and started washing dishes. And the women just all leaned forward. They couldn't believe their eyes. They were so stunned by this. The husband, the father, and the son wore aprons and did the dishes, cleaned the kitchen. And they said to the women, no, you're not helping. It's our turn. They've never seen this. They don't know what a healthy family should look like. So when we encourage families to come and visit us, come and spend time. The children need male influence. They need male role models, right? Mm-hmm. Come and spend time, play with our children. Teach our women to play. January 1st of this year, we started a new tradition. We now, on Fridays, practice Shabbat. That means you have white tablecloths, you have fresh flowers on the tables, you have candles, the tables are properly set. We prepare a special meal. In the afternoon, we all get involved in baking bread, and we all make braids, and we work the yeast. So the afternoon is spent working together in the kitchen. Chores have to be finished before 6. Saturday, you are not allowed to do any chores. You're going to spend the day with your children. Get to know your children. Create good memories.
What an incredible thing you're doing.
Sometimes we take them to the beach. These women have never played. Mm-hmm. Play in the sand, dig in the sand, bury myself, excuse me. One time we all learned how to do somersaults. We should have had it on video. It was delightful. These women have never tried a somersault. They don't know how. Play in the water? You're kidding. I'm going to get wet? Yes, you're going to get very wet. It's beautiful. To hear the squeals of laughter the first time.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I've actually had the opportunity to play with some of the children at Mujeres Nuevo Comienzo, and it's such a beautiful thing to just hear all these giggles and smiles and chase the kids around and play peekaboo, and it's
and watch
so
the mothers
much fun.
play.
So much
watch
fun.
the mothers play. Christmas time, we have a slightly different concept than what Santa Claus looks like. We don't write letters to Santa Claus. We find ways how we can reach out and bless in the community.
That's how it should be.
We started that 4 years ago, and we have had so many blessings from it. What we do, starting in November, my husband drives a church bus. So we go through neighborhoods that are very, very poverty, very, very poor. And the women look for a home, and the children find a home that looks as though it's absolutely desperate. And try and figure out how many people live in there. Do you see children's clothing on the line? Do you think it could be a little girl or a little boy? Make a list, make mental notes, and then start sewing start painting, start building.
Wow.
The last few days before Christmas, we bake. We make popcorn balls, and we make fudge, and then we bake bread, buns, donuts, and then on the last few days, we bake sugar cookies and decorate them. And on Christmas Day, after the morning breakfast and stockings, then we deliver. It is amazing. It is so incredibly beyond words. How these women, when they give something to a complete stranger, the weeping, the children as they share their gifts with the children. I love it.
I encourage everyone. I'm actually going to do this year too, because it's so important to show the love of Jesus more than just on Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely
every
true.
single day, but especially Christmas. It's a season of giving, not to receive a bunch of gifts and go out and Black Friday shopping and everything, but just being thankful for what we have and allowing God to just work through us and to bless others. And it's so remarkable. And we actually have about 2 minutes left, but I would love for you to just highlight how others can get involved with your organization and help you make some more magic happen.
Well, we have been living in a very destitute situation. It's a lot better for this winter. Last year was a tent, and it was very, very challenging for the women and the children because of the pruning that we went through. We lost everything except the property. The property is secured, and we now have 4 RVs that we are living in, but that's cramped quarters. Our main building we have not yet begun, and we need to do fundraising, effective fundraising, monthly support. We need people to come and work. Trade people, non-experienced people, people with energy, with checkbooks. We need to have people come in and help us in the planning and the developing and the building.
And people can do that through your website, correct? They can donate on your website.
Yes.
They can contact you and figure out ways as they can go down there and help serve, whether that's playing with the children or building or just money in general. You know, I know it takes a lot to make an organization like that. And
above all, prayer. Above all, yes. Thank you.
But I can guarantee you guys that it would be absolutely worth it if you invest just a little bit of time or whatever you have, whether that's time, prayer, whatever it may be. But you are going to see some incredible things come out of this ministry because I know I have. And just continuing to be a part of it, there's so many blessings that are going to come out of it. It's so exciting to watch what God is doing in and through Dorothy and through the women who are alongside of her. We're actually going to have Maria on the show the next episode, and she's going to be sharing her story of how this organization has truly made a whole turnaround in her life. And so we have about 30 seconds left, but do you have any words of inspiration for the viewers real quick before we go?
Find a passage that really encourages you. Like Isaiah 45, 1-7 is mine. And I lean on it. I lean on it daily because it is where God takes my hand and He opens the doors. It is just so hugely, what a difference it makes in your life when He is the one in control. I am His daughter. I want Him to lead every step of the way.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys were taught, healed, or inspired. I just take God's hand and see all the incredible blessings that can come out of it and get in contact with Dorothy and see what you can do to be involved with this incredible ministry. I hope you guys are abundantly blessed. Go to shastasjourney.com and share your story. God bless, guys.
Thank you.